Hi, I'm William SRD, and I'm standing in front of a large pile of boulders, which used to be the entrance to a vast underground cave complex, where the very first role-playing game was found, scrawled in pictographs on the walls. LARPeologists have used carbon dating to determine that this game, which they have begun to call OG, could be up to 30,000 years old, which means your mother could have played it. Although the caves collapsed in an earthquake in 2013, Robin D. Laws and his team managed to translate the text into English from its cave paintings. This is OG Unearthed Edition.
OG is a game in which the humor and the game mechanics are synonymous. They are one and the same thing. In OG, you play as a caveman or cavewoman, and your tribe only knows how to speak 18 words. You, me, rock, water, fire, stick, hairy, bang, sleep, smelly, small, big, cave, food, thing, shiny, go, verisimilitude. You are forbidden at any point during the game to speak to your fellow players using any words outside of that 18-word vocabulary. How does this look in practice? You, go, bang me shiny thing. You, bang me stick thing. Go fire! Okay, but that is playing the game on easy mode. And this game does not have an easy mode. Your tribe knows those 18 words, but you are only one individual, and you only know 1d6 plus 2 of those words. Unless you play as an eloquent caveman class, which is a real class in the game, and it's also probably the best class in the game. You see, this game is entirely about communication and miscommunication. In fact, it's written into the rulebook that you receive vocabulary words like treasure. See, in games like Dungeons & Dragons, the core gameplay is more about combat, so you receive treasure that will make that mode of gameplay easier. Whereas with OG, the core mode of gameplay is how do you speak correctly, and if you know speak good, then having additional vocabulary words, that is going to make your gameplay easier, and is a much better reward than any enchanted club you would receive. More than anything else we've covered on meme systems, OG is a game that really focuses heavily on the gameplay side of things. That is where the humor lies. So what else does OG have going for it to make it fun to play?
LARPeologists wondered right from the beginning exactly what manner of activities these cave people could do on their adventures. And the answers varied considerably. From simple quests in which the players must hunt gigantic animals for food for their tribe, to different adventures in which they will attempt to impress neighboring tribes to attract potential mates. And yet, these LARPeologists found evidence of far more outlandish tales, including depictions of cave people wandering down into vast underground dungeons, hoping to slay cyclopean lizard men and take their treasure. There were even several references to ancient cave people being stolen away by aliens and needing to be rescued by their stone-wielding peers.
Now, if you've seen a number of videos on my channel, you know that I am a big fan of any game that knows how to have focus. And OG knows exactly what it needs to be. It is a game about communication and miscommunication. That is the gameplay, that is the humor. With that in mind, I'm not going to dive too deep into all the other rules of the system that you're going to use in combat and stuff, but I will say that they are very simple and made to service. They're simple, they're basic, they're clean, you've got nothing to worry about playing OG. However, here's where I'm going to give OG some props. The rules mainly needed to be unobtrusive so that it didn't get in the way of all the miscommunication gameplay. However, OG is actually pretty considerate with its rules, and it knows that that mode of gameplay isn't going to work for everybody. So there's actually quite an extensive and well-made and well-thought-out set of extra rules if you would like to add some crunch to your game, or if you're playing a longer campaign and you just find the combat's not holding up. And I absolutely respect that. It plays to its strengths, but it also covers its weaknesses. So knowing all of this, where does that put OG in the meme charts? So the first thing to note is that OG is made to be played, unlike some entries on the list. It's also probably the first meme system on our list where the core concept isn't like where the humor lies. There's a lot of humor in the system, but it doesn't come from the concept. Like, you're not just gonna tell someone there's a caveman RPG and they'll start laughing. Like, that's just not how it's gonna work. And it could be because the humor is perhaps somewhat dated. If this came out in 2007, I might laugh at the core concept, but as a matter of fact, I just kind of feel like caveman humor was done to death pre-internet age, and just the idea of caveman as a joke, it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't get me conceptually. Don't get me wrong though, this game is probably going to get a lot more laughs out of you than pretty much anything else on this list, but it's all going to happen in the gameplay. So even though caveman humor isn't really funny to my ears, I'm not gonna hold it against the system, because that almost just feels like penalizing it for coming out a long time ago. And I also think the actual gameplay holds up flawlessly. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to acknowledge that the difference between S tier and A tier here is going to be kind of a personal choice. If just the core concept of it being a caveman RPG just immediately makes you go meh, then, it's probably an A tier, and, you should still probably play it anyway because it's really funny. But if you're unbothered by the dated aspects of a caveman RPG and caveman humor, then let's be honest, OG is S tier. Personally, I don't want to penalize OG for coming out a long time ago, especially since we have some much older meme RPGs to discuss on this channel and in this series, so I'm gonna let OG stay at S tier. We don't want to lean too hard on recency bias. So with that in mind, I'm going to put OG as our very first S tier game. All memes aside, we actually do have a lot of evidence of ancient role-playing games that were played across history. So if you're interested in the raunchy role-playing party games of Norman England, or a fantasy tabletop role-playing game from Renaissance Italy, then man, do I have a playlist for you.